Hi, welcome to French Touch Design. In this video, I am going to show you how to make maple and copper inlay laces on an epoxy table. For this recording, I built a tripod for my GoPro because I had been previously balancing it on my table, so the car roof, the floor, and even on top of my hat with duct tape. You name it, I tried it. Yes, it's ridiculous, so this should be better. For the tripod, I use scrap wood from my garage and made cuts on the edge. This way, I can move the GoPro up and down. With one more scrap, I built a quick base to install tripod on the floor. It only took me 2 minutes to build, and honestly, it's awesome. It's easy to move and very easy to adjust the camera. Now I am ready to start the table. I clean the edges of the slab with my hammer. It's the first time I've ever seen something like this. The bark is so tough to remove. I think it got struck by lightning. By the way, Thatcher gave me a deal on it because of the crack. So I remove everything I can with my hammer and chisel. Next, I use a wire brush and a grinder. I got both of these tools at Harbor Freight when I restored my car. These are the best tools to clean the edges. They are very powerful and inexpensive. I must say, I was not sure about using epoxy on this project because I love the edges in the center. I was thinking about using a piece of glass. I used my fancy track saw from the 1900s and cut the edges on each side of the slab. Some of my friends make fun of the saw, but it does the job just fine. When I start to draw the lines for the inlay, I decide to do something different than dovetails. This table is for my office, so I can do what I want. I decide to do wooden laces and eyelets. First, I grab some scraps, my drill and router to practice doing the inlay. I am using a drill bit for pocket screws and a straight bit for the router. Next, I get a small copper pipe, pretty much the same size as the drill bit. It should work perfectly. Then, I slide a wooden dowel into the pipe. Since copper is a soft material, you need the dowel to be able to hold the pipe firmly inside the clamp. I use my grinder to make a groove inside the pipe. Because the copper edges are so sharp, I quickly clean them with a wire brush. I strongly suggest you do the same. If you don't, you could get hurt and start to swear in French again, trust me. I assemble one piece of copper and one piece of wood inside the groove of the scrap wood. I think this method is going to work, and it's going to be fine to proceed. I grab my drill and drill the eyelets first. This pocket screw drill bit is great for that. After, I do all the grooves for the laces with my router. It is a quick process. The key is to use small screws to attach the template because you have no clamps in your way. It's more stable, it's faster, and does not move with the vibrations. Next, I cut small maple scraps to slide inside the grooves. I use yellow glue and a hammer to push the maple in. It's not perfectly flush with the slab, but it doesn't matter. The CNC will make everything perfectly flat in the end. The best way to adjust the copper is to slide a piece onto a drill bit. I use my Dremel to clean up the edges. It's perfect. The inlay process was fast and fun to build. At this stage, I am confident of the end result. Next, I cut each end of the table and I am ready to build template. I reuse melamine scrap for the template. Drill through the edges of the melamine to assemble the template pieces. Use caulking around the edges and then wax the bottom. It's always the same charade. Finally, I install the slab inside the template. It's now ready for the epoxy. I did 2 pours total. In the end, the slab is 2.5 inch thick. Before the second pour, I apply caulking around cracks in the slab. If the epoxy looks dry but is still sticky to touch, it is the perfect time to add the second pour. This is usually around 10 hours after you first pour. I use a CNC to flatten the top. You don't need to flatten the bottom. I sand the edges and the top, and then clean it with mineral spirits and a rag. Now you are good to go for the oil. By the way, I poured too much of the epoxy. The only good thing about that is all cracks and holes are filled up, and I won't need to do any touch-ups. I apply the first coat of oil with a brush. I did 4 coats total. It looks great. For the base, I use rough cut pine. I am going to stay very basic with the legs. I am using my table saw to cut the pine. Next, I use my jointer. I found it on Craigslist for $100. I'm like a kid. I love that thing, and it does a great job. I use the planer to finish the pieces. A big thanks to Mark, who let me borrow his planer. Awesome. For the design of the base, I draw a sample frame. I just need my table saw and nothing else. One thing I always do first is to draw this sign to make sure I don't mix up the placement of the pieces. It's simple but efficient. Next time, I will go through the details of building basic table bases. I will also show you hardware, different types of finish for the legs, and provide some tips for when you have limited space and tools. Again, as you can see, you can do a lot without a lot. Thanks for watching, guys. See you soon.